10 insane eating habits only narcissistic abuse survivors understand. Have you ever found yourself in a relationship where your eating habits seemed to spiral out of control, where every meal felt like a minefield, and the mere act of eating became emotionally exhausting? For survivors of narcissistic abuse, food can become much more than just a means of sustenance. It can be a tool of control, manipulation, and emotional torment. Narcissists are masters at creating environments of instability, and that instability often extends to the very act of eating. If you've ever felt like your eating habits were hijacked by someone else's emotional needs, you're not alone. In fact, you may have experienced some of the insane eating habits that narcissistic abuse survivors understand all too well. Food should nourish the body, but for those who have endured narcissistic abuse, it often becomes a battleground. From bizarre control tactics to emotional manipulation, the relationship between narcissists and food can be twisted in ways you might not even realize until much later. So why do narcissists have such a strange hold over their victims when it comes to eating? Why do their eating habits seem to go from perfectly healthy to completely chaotic? In this video, we'll take a deep dive into the 10 most insane eating habits that only survivors of narcissistic abuse truly understand. These behaviors are not just quirky. They reflect a pattern of control and manipulation that can profoundly affect your relationship with food and your body. Before we start, if you've ever found yourself in a relationship with a narcissist, this video is for you. Please take a moment to subscribe, like, and share this content so we can raise awareness and provide support to those struggling with the aftermath of narcissistic abuse. Survivors of narcissism often feel isolated, but you are not alone. Let's explore these eating habits together and shed some light on why they occur. 1. The constant food policing. One of the most disturbing eating habits that narcissistic abuse survivors understand is the constant food policing. Narcissists often treat food as a means of exerting control over their victims, scrutinizing every meal, snack, or even the desire to eat or not eat. If you've ever had a narcissist comment on what, when, or how much you eat, whether it's too much, too little, too healthy, or not healthy enough, you understand just how invasive this behavior can be. Food becomes a weapon. A narcissist may claim to care about your health, only to demand that you eat in a way that suits their needs. They may try to impose strict diets on you, not because they genuinely care about your well-being, but because controlling your eating habits gives them a sense of power. They might even go so far as to monitor your food intake, accidentally sabotage your meal plans, or make passive-aggressive comments when they don't approve of your choices. For the survivor, this constant policing creates a toxic relationship with food. You may start to feel anxious or guilty about eating, knowing that any choice you make will likely be criticized. The narcissist's need to control your food intake isn't about your health. It's about making sure you feel small, uncertain, and dependent on them for approval. 2. The silent treatment during meals. Ever found yourself sitting at the table in silence, not because you had nothing to say, but because the narcissist had decided that you weren't worthy of a conversation? One of the most emotionally draining eating habits for survivors is the silent treatment during meals. It's an insidious form of control that can leave you feeling isolated and disconnected while you're simply trying to enjoy a meal. During this silence, the narcissist is playing a game. They are making you feel awkward, uncomfortable, and invisible. The absence of conversation creates a sense of tension in the air, and the pressure is on you to either break the silence or endure the cold treatment. They are effectively making you feel like you are undeserving of their time and attention. The act of eating becomes a reminder that you're not in control, that the narcissist has the power to make you feel ignored, neglected, and insignificant. This silent treatment is often accompanied by judgmental stares, condescending remarks, or dramatic sighs whenever you try to speak. You may begin to associate eating with anxiety, guilt, or even self-doubt, as the narcissist's coldness leaves you wondering if your choice of meal or the mere act of eating is something they will approve of. 3. The love bombing through food. On the flip side of controlling behaviors, narcissists often try to love bomb their victims, showering them with excessive affection and attention to win them over. One tactic is using food as a way to manipulate your emotions. They might flood you with an overwhelming amount of food, or prepare elaborate meals to make you feel special and cared for. But this is never about genuine love. It's about control and manipulation. Narcissists understand that food is a powerful tool to make people feel emotionally indebted to them. They might insist on preparing every meal or go out of their way to make sure you're always well fed, not because they care about your needs, but because they want you to become dependent on their attention. This behavior is often seen during the idealization phase of a narcissistic relationship, where they show you excessive love and care in order to bind you to them emotionally. It's not about genuine affection. It's about making you feel special enough to lower your guard and trust them completely. While this may feel comforting at first, it's important to recognize that this behavior is ultimately manipulative. Narcissists use food as a way to exert control, making you feel like you owe them something, or that you can't live without them. 4. The guilt trip mealtime. Another insane eating habit that narcissistic abuse survivors understand is the guilt trip mealtime. This occurs when the narcissist tries to manipulate you into eating, or not eating, in a way that benefits them. If they've prepared a meal, they may guilt trip you into eating it by making comments like, "I went through so much trouble to make this for you, and you can't even appreciate it." Or, "You don't care about me enough to eat this." This guilt is a form of emotional manipulation designed to make you feel selfish or ungrateful for refusing to eat or expressing preferences that differ from the narcissist's desires. Over time, this tactic can weigh you down and make you feel like you're constantly walking on eggshells, never sure if your food choices will trigger another round of guilt or resentment. You might even begin to avoid meals altogether, out of fear of having to deal with the emotional fallout of rejecting their food or of being criticized for eating too much. The narcissist knows that food is a way to make you feel guilty, which in turn makes them feel powerful and in control. 5. The obsession with appearance during meals. A narcissist's obsession with appearance often extends to your eating habits. They are hyper-aware of how you look when you eat, and they may make unsolicited comments about your weight, how much food you should eat, or how you should eat. For instance, a narcissist might criticize you for eating too much, saying things like, "You're really going to eat all of that? No wonder you look the way you do." Or, if you eat too little, they might accuse you of being selfish or lacking discipline. This behavior isn't about your health, it's about control. The narcissist wants to make sure you are constantly thinking about your appearance through their lens, which keeps you in a state of self-doubt and insecurity. The act of eating is no longer just about nourishing your body. It becomes about meeting the narcissist's standards of beauty or facing their judgment. The obsession with your appearance during meals can lead you to develop unhealthy eating habits, such as restrictive dieting, binge eating, or avoiding food altogether. You may feel like you have to look a certain way to avoid criticism, even if that means sacrificing your mental and physical well-being. 6. The inconsistent feeding schedule. Have you ever been in a situation where the narcissist controls when and how often you eat? This inconsistency can wreak havoc on your body and mind. A narcissist might refuse to feed you, withhold food, or demand that you eat at inconvenient times, making it impossible to maintain a healthy routine. Alternatively, they may force you to eat excessively at times, all as part of their emotional manipulation. The unpredictable nature of meals can lead to physical exhaustion, irritability, and feelings of insecurity. Your body needs stability, but the narcissist thrives on keeping you off balance. They are actively sabotaging your ability to nourish yourself in a balanced and healthy way. Over time, this may cause you to feel disoriented and disconnected from your own needs. 7. The use of food as a punishment. In narcissistic relationships, food can become a punishment. For example, they might withhold food as a way of punishing you for some perceived wrong. If you don't follow their commands or meet their expectations, they might refuse to let you eat or deliberately make you feel guilty for eating. This creates a sense of dependency, where food becomes something you need to earn rather than something you are entitled to. You may begin to feel like you're constantly fighting for basic nourishment, making each meal a source of anxiety and stress. 8. The emotional eating habit. For narcissistic abuse survivors, emotional eating is a common coping mechanism. In a chaotic relationship with a narcissist, food can become an escape, a way to deal with stress, sadness, or anger. But the problem with emotional eating is that it doesn't actually resolve the underlying emotions. It only temporarily numbs them. Survivors of narcissistic abuse may find themselves overeating to cope with feelings of loneliness, frustration, or fear, or undereating in an attempt to feel in control. This behavior often stems from the emotional turmoil caused by the narcissist's manipulation and abuse. 9. The non-stop criticizing of your eating choices. A narcissist will often criticize your eating choices to maintain control. If they disapprove of something you're eating, they might comment on it relentlessly, making you feel bad about your decision. Whether it's a small snack or a full meal, nothing you eat seems to be good enough for them. This continuous criticism reinforces feelings of shame and guilt, making you second-guess every decision you make about food. 10. The secretive eating. Finally, one of the most insane habits that survivors understand is the secretive eating habit. If you're in a narcissistic relationship, you might find yourself sneaking food or eating in secret, away from the narcissist's prying eyes. This behavior stems from the fear of criticism or punishment, as well as the constant anxiety of having to meet the narcissist's impossible standards. Eating in secret becomes a coping mechanism, a way to reclaim some control over your relationship with food. Unfortunately, this habit can contribute to further emotional disconnection and lead to unhealthy eating patterns. Living with a narcissist can turn even the most basic human functions, like eating, into a source of emotional distress. If you've experienced any of these eating habits, it's essential to recognize that these behaviors are not your fault. They are the result of manipulation and control by someone who values their own power above all else. Thank you for joining me in this discussion. If you found this video helpful or insightful, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe so that we can continue raising awareness and offering support to those who have survived narcissistic abuse. Your strength is inspiring, and remember, you are not alone in this journey. Stay strong, stay safe, and always take care of yourself. This is why narcissists are alone, no friends, and no relationships. Have you ever wondered why narcissists, who seem so confident and charismatic on the surface, often end up completely alone with no real friends or lasting relationships? It's almost paradoxical, isn't it? On one hand, They appear to have all the qualities that people find attractive: charm, confidence, and an undeniable presence. But on the other hand, when you take a closer look, you'll often find that they struggle to maintain healthy, lasting connections with others. It's a puzzle that many people find themselves trying to solve, especially when they've been hurt by a narcissist's toxic behaviors. The truth is, narcissists often end up isolated because their actions and mindset gradually push others away, despite the superficial allure. In this video, we're going to dive deep into the reasons why narcissists find themselves alone, without true friends, and without stable relationships. If you've ever been confused or frustrated by a narcissist's behavior, or if you've found yourself trying to make sense of why they push people away despite their need for attention, you're not alone. You'll be surprised at how their behaviors, no matter how charming they might seem at first, end up being the very reasons they're rejected by others. Before we dive deeper into the psychology of narcissism and explain exactly why these individuals often end up alone, be sure to like, subscribe, and share this content with anyone who might be struggling to understand narcissistic relationships. By sharing this knowledge, we can help raise awareness and encourage more people to protect themselves from toxic individuals. So, let's take a closer look at why narcissists find themselves isolated and without the very things they claim to want the most: true friendships and lasting relationships. To begin, it's important to understand that narcissism is not just about arrogance or self-love. It's a deeply rooted psychological condition. Narcissists have an inflated sense of their own importance.